Welcome back everyone to the channel. So today I want to talk about this really crazy, bizarre story going around that the Unite the Nation march held by Tommy Robinson, where it's been reported of violent clashes between protesters and police, may all have been faked. Now, who do you think has come up with this story? It's no other than Elon Musk. So the AI that runs X, formerly Twitter, is claiming that the scenes was actually 5 years old from an anti-lockdown march. And I must say, this would fit in with the narrative that I'm seeing and hearing of people who was actually at the march. And what they're saying is that nobody saw any violence. The organisers got on very well with the police and everybody was shocked to see these videos of protesters fighting and clashing with the police. So I want to read you The Guardian, then I want to talk a little bit about the numbers and the different things being reported. But first of all, let me just read out this really incredible story. Now, as you can imagine with The Guardian, it's going to be very biased. So it starts off and it says, the Met Force had to rebuke misinformation amplified by ex-users as Musk accused of inciting violence with protest comments. The Metropolitan Police have had to counter false suggestions by artificial intelligence on Elon Musk's X platform that the force passed off footage from 2020 as being from Saturday's far-right rally in the city. They claim that the chat box Grok was in answer to ex-users' query about where and when the footage of the police clashing was with crowds was filmed. Grok, which has a track record of giving false information and misleading answers, replied, "This footage appears to be from an anti-lockdown protest in London's Trafalgar Square on 26 September 2020 during clashes between demonstrators and police over COVID restrictions." The answer was quickly picked up and amplified by ex-users, including the Daily Telegraph columnist Alison Pearson, who tweeted, "This was my suspicion," before asking, did the Met claim the footage of the clash in summer 2020 took place yesterday? The Met responded to her by saying that the footage was filmed on Saturday shortly after 3 p.m. at the junction of Whitehall and the Horse Guards Avenue. It is quite obviously not Trafalgar Square as it's suggested in the AI response you have referred to, but for the avoidance of further doubt, we have provided a labelled comparison to confirm the location, the force added. The latest examples of challenges posted to police by social media came on the day of when 26 police were injured during the violent scenes, and Elon Musk himself addressed the rally organised by the far-right activist known as Tommy Robinson. It's unbelievable how many times they will use that name, far-right. It used to be racist, now it's far-right. Everybody who they disagree with is far-right, and they believe by saying far-right, normal people like you and me are going to think, oh, far-right mustn't be true. But it shows how out of touch they actually are. I'm surprised they haven't yet told you what Tommy Robinson's real name is. That's the usual one. Because he goes by a different name, there must be no way that he's actually telling the truth. There was condemnation of Musk's comments delivered via live link to Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon. And I promise you all, I hadn't seen that bit there, but it's just the same narrative, same words that they use every single time. Speaking to him, the billionaire told the crowd, "Violence is coming. You can either fight back or you die." The Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davies said Elon Musk openly called for violence on the streets yesterday. And I do believe that Ed Davey has since said that Elon Musk should be arrested by the UK police. But enough of that article, and you get the drift of it. Basically, the AI that runs Elon Musk's Twitter, X, is saying that the violent clashes where these 20-something police officers was injured was actually from 2020. Now, the question is, would that surprise me? Absolutely not. It would not surprise me. I don't believe anything the authorities tell us, our government tell us, the police. They are absolutely frightened to death of these marches. They will say and do anything. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are lying. And that's where I want to ask you. Many people who watch this video would have been at the march, and you, like the people who I've spoken to, would have seen what was going on. Now, I know not every individual saw everything, but I have yet to speak to one person who saw any clashes whatsoever. I've even heard stories of somebody swearing by accident in front of a child, and the other protesters said, "Oi, watch your language when you're here." The organisers have been going around weeks with the police to make sure that everything goes stable and smooth sailing. So I am sceptical, but I would like to see more evidence. If anybody has saw anything or knows anything or has any links, please put it in the description to see whether the police really have lied, because it would be the first time on any of these recent Tommy Robinson marches that there has actually been some violence. And this is what I'm gonna guess. Even if there was violence, do I think there was some bad apples? Possibly. Do I also think there was some infiltrators who go in there to cause trouble? Absolutely think that's positive too, as I'm sure all of you do. Now let's talk about the numbers, another thing that everyone is disagreeing on. So the first number that I saw was actually 50,000, the mainstream media was suggesting. I then saw pictures of the bridge and you couldn't see anything. It was absolutely filled, both sides of it, all across the bridge, and I thought there is no way that that is 50,000 people. The mainstream media then jumped to 100 and finally to 150,000. Now the people who was there, the organisers, Tommy Robinson himself, are all claiming over 1 million people attended, and that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing people say that there was counts done and they believe over 1 million people. Now, this is why I tend to believe that number rather than the 150,000. First of all, I don't trust the mainstream media. Anybody who watches this channel knows that I probably, if anything, hold myself back when it comes to how anti-establishment I am and how quite prone I am to a good conspiracy. But this is the reason, looking at it factually, why I believe there was probably 1 million people. The mainstream media have all been talking about this. They never talk about Tommy Robinson's marches. They never say anything positive whatsoever. But they are reporting on it and they're saying the figure of 150,000. And that leads me to believe that this must have been so big that they're trying to get in front of the story to put their own narrative out. We've seen everything is far right. Now, the only thing I do think was a little bit silly was some of the words used by Elon Musk. But Elon Musk comes from a different culture, a different country than here in the UK. Over there in America, you have a lot more freedom of speeches. At best, we only have freedom of expression, and that's very questionable over the last 12 months. And that is far more the language that you see over in the United States of America. And the reason I think it was a bit silly was because what it did, it gave the mainstream media the weapon they needed, as if they needed one anyway. But there will be some down the middle people who feel themselves siding with Tommy Robinson, who would have then saw them comments and it would have put them off. But look, not everybody's perfect, and you can't give anything but credit to the people who organised such a massive event. Now, there's one last thing I'd like to talk on, and that is the big elephant in the room. Tommy Robinson, you've got now Ben Habib seeming to align with him, you've got Elon Musk with the finances, and then you've got Nigel Farage and Reform UK. Now, I know there's bad blood between all the individuals, and I don't think for 1 minute that really Tommy Robinson should be in the political space. I think he's far better at doing stuff like this, doing his documentaries and being more of a movement than a political party. But what I would like to see going forward is the name calling between all sides to stop. It's not healthy, it's making tribalism. I wouldn't say on the right of politics, but I would say on the anti-establishment side of politics, we're seeing these big rifts. So tell me what you think. Do you think it would be good to see Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage, bury the hatchet. They don't have to be best friends. They don't have to be in the same party. I don't think that would necessarily be good, but to try and bury the hatchet for the good of patriotism. And tell me, was you at the event? Did you see any of this violence between the police and the protesters? Or do you think that these clips could be from the 2020 anti-lockdown protests, where there was a lot of rumours at the time and speculation on why exactly the trouble started at them protests? If you ask the people on those protests, they will tell you that it was people infiltrating, causing trouble, which then gave the police the excuse. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and especially subscribe so I can get more of these videos out to as many people as possible.